Today on Near Mint Condition, we're going to talk about vinyl. If it sounds better, sounds worse, it's collectible, cool geeky video game tie-ins, and...
Are you almost done? Because I'm getting tired of holding this.
That's what she said.
Welcome back to Near Mint Condition. Today's episode is brought to you by... Dan, what's it brought to you by?
Oh, it's brought to you by your misplaced nostalgia for 70s technology.
Oh, zing! Nice, Dan. One take.
There is some validity in what you say, but there's actually more to it. We're going to talk a little bit about vinyl records.
Is there any other vinyl? Oh,
Yes.
don't answer that. Don't answer that.
We're not going to talk about that. This is a kid's show. So what I brought today was some of my favorite, like hip-hop, jazz, and geek collectible vinyl.
I was going to say, how does this relate to what we do as Near Mint?
Yeah. So we have a problem here, at least...
Because this was all current when we were kids.
Because we have a collector's mentality, so we must own the Streets of Rage Collector's Edition.
I didn't even know this happened.
And that is why we're having this episode.
Now that we have, like, digital music, I don't know if you've heard of this, like...
MP3s.
Yeah, things like that.
Tidal, Spotify.
And they're pretty flawless. Like, the sound quality's pretty flawless. Like, why would you want to hear music like this?
I'm glad you asked this question.
All right.
So one of my favorite... Oh, God, we broke something! One of my favorite records, full stop, is Purple Rain, right? Why would I prefer to listen to this and manually flip it over, or something like these things where I have two different discs that I have to flip over 4 times to listen to it, instead of just playing it on my Google Cloud Music, or MP3s, or Tidal, or what have you? Absolutely. Technically, an MP3, a CD, especially a CD, is able to reproduce the sound, the highs, the lows, all the dynamic ways between this and reproduce it flawlessly. This is actually absolutely possible. However, there is just, going back to kind of what you talk about with nostalgia, but I want to get to that in just a second. The only way to get true analog, where exactly what came off the recorded tape master to your ears via your speakers, is via vinyl. Like, it really truly is an analog medium. My Michael Jackson record, I'm not going to drop. There we go. This Michael Jackson record I got when I was 8 years old at Chance Rollerdrome. I won a Michael Jackson glove and this record, and it still plays fantastic to this day. Sounds great.
I still have my original that I bought in Peru. Like, my parents bought me in Peru.
Senor Michael Jackson.
Miguel
Jackson. So when you get a decent, there's a bunch of different ways that you can interpret how well this can sound. If you're just starting with this hobby of collecting vinyl, Audio-Technica and a myriad of other companies make a lot of different turntables. So if you want to just get started, there's something called a PL60, which is about $100. This is what I started off with, and it's a decent mechanical record player. It'll auto stop and start when it gets to the record. It's fine. It does a good job. It's $100. Sony makes some. I mean, everyone makes some. If you want to step up a level, there's this thing. This is the Audio-Technica AP120. It has USB out, so I can actually rip my records as I play them. And the first time you play a record...
Mine is still blown. Like, you want to rip a digital copy of your vinyl records.
The first time you play a record...
Isn't there an app that lets you listen to music with scratchy noises?
Well, see, that's the thing. When you get the more, like, the original, the $100 record player that I still have, this mechanical and stuff, it did have some snaps, crackles, and pops. It had a little bit of that. But this thing, because of this weighted tone bar, and it's all metal, and it has a whole bunch of really cool features. This thing's really, really nice. Have to balance it. It has a nice cartridge on it. A cartridge is the box that contains the needle. I don't get snaps, crackles, and pops because it accounts for this with the weighted tone bar. So, and the first time you play a record, you have to think about this, how a record is made. You have your plastic, your lacquered, and it's pressed, right? And sent out, right? And inside the pit, on the grooves of the pits and the divots and the valleys or whatever, that's your sound. The first time you take that needle to the record, it's going to sound the best. So that's when you can use your ripping technology on this to rip to your MP3s or FLAC. You don't use MP3s. Audiophiles don't use MP3s. They use FLAC and other lossless compression.
I still want to know, will it still do the same thing that I used to do as a child and take my thumb and go over that little needle and make that noise?
Yes, it will, but I'll cry very much that if you do that. Now, this thing is also kind of cool. So things like Purple Rain have some parts where Prince is like singing backwards. And for like 20, 30 years, I've always wondered exactly what he says. This model has a reverse button. So when it gets to that part in Darling Nikki, I can hit the reverse button and actually see what he says. And he says, "Hello. How are you?"
Just look on
Or
YouTube.
you could look it up on YouTube. Yeah, I was gonna say they never heard of like somebody taking their hand and playing it
Just
backwards.
playing it, yeah.
Like, do you really need a reverse button on?
It makes it much cooler.
I'm totally hating it. I'm
Yeah,
totally
no.
hating on it because like my wife collects records, and I have nothing against people that collect things. Obviously,
So-
I have issues with collecting. So
And it makes perfect sense to me. And because the thing is, this goes back to our discussion about like digital versus physical, right? Mm-hmm. Music, even, I was, I had records, then I transitioned to CDs. Well,
you skip
I
tapes.
had records, then I had a shit ton of tapes.
I skip tapes.
And transitioned to CDs, and especially once it became easy to burn CDs of mixtapes, then I said, fuck tapes forever. But if you are going to collect a physical version, it makes sense to collect the most physical version rather than the CD, which is a digital embodiment of the music. It makes sense to go say, this is a completely analog thing that I want and to keep. And frankly, it's a lot harder to take care of it than a CD or whatnot. It is a collectible in so many senses where CDs just aren't. CDs are disposable commodities for landfills.
And they're tiny. You can't do much with the art. There's maybe some inserts. There's some things you can do with these records, and I'll show you some of the stuff that I've gotten by collecting these things. And the listening experience itself, like it's true. My house is streaming audio all throughout the house, and I can go from my phone and say, play Michael Jackson's Thriller, and I do that a lot. But there are some things I want to sit down and just listen to, and I enjoy taking the tone arm and putting it on the record and letting it play, and then at the middle of the record flipping it over. That could just be the fact that I'm in near mid condition, but the listening experience, this forces me to actually listen to my music rather than just play in the car or play it in headphones or play in whatever.
But with this, I guess it makes it more difficult to be like, I can't fast forward that song. I gotta listen to the entire
What are you talking
song.
about? That was the greatest thing about records, is that you
could
can say,
pick
fuck
it up
that
and
song.
put it
But that would
You can look it
require
up.
you to get up from your lounge chair, wherever you fucking people listen to fucking records at, and move the needle.
Wait, this doesn't have a remote that does that automatically?
No, it does not.
Did they ever stop making records? It seems like records. I remember when Dr. Dre's fucking Chronic hit, right?
I have that.
I remember I had that on vinyl because I thought it was cool. And I thought for the longest time that records had stopped existing, like mainly in the mid 80s to early 90s. But when I saw that vinyl, and that was 1992, I think, it was at a record shop, I was like, oh, I gotta buy Dr. Dre on vinyl.
Yeah, the Chronic.
I didn't even have a fucking record player, but
There
I
was
bought it.
always a collector's market for vinyl. It never stopped.
When did video game companies go, holy shit, there's a whole market out there of like 10 old people that really like listening to records. Let's
produce
make
this.
limited edition vinyl fucking Streets of Goddamn Rage 2. That is a fucking awesome game. Like,
Okay, so let's talk about...
because there's a lot of good games out there that have vinyl fucking records.
Yeah,
Like,
so we have talked about collectibles and how you and I specifically will go out, and actually all of us go out and try and find the coolest collectible type things that we have. This is a perfect example of how to tap into that market.
I have a pair of panties in my other room that belong to a fictional character. So, yeah.
You are definitely the market that we're looking
Yeah.
for. So we were talking about, Dan, you were talking about, like,
Yeah.
okay, physical media, what can I do things that are special that can't be done on a CD? For example, we have things like this. This is Bauhaus. This is a glow-in-the-dark record. I can't really show this on camera very well, but it's made in Ingran.
You
I had
can
a
definitely
glow-in-the-dark
tell that
Kiss
it's
record.
that yellow
was
glow in the
awesome.
dark.
Yeah, so, like, this is really cool. You can do cool things like glow-in-the-dark. You can also have little editions of this.
That's a 45, right?
This is a, no, this is a, yeah, well, it is actually...
Now, I mean, in fairness, I have a CD that's cut out in the shape of Darth Vader's head, so...
So again, the collector's mentality, what's the best way to represent some things and do some cool things that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do? Streets of Rage, so there's a bunch of companies that are doing this. Mondo Tees are doing some. I actually have a Legend of Zelda, Hero of Time, the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Hero of Time, double disc vinyl set. And it's fantastic. It was like recorded specifically by the Slovakian orchestra, recorded directly to this vinyl. These Streets of Rage things, Data Disc is the name of the company, and they actually have a number of these releases. Streets of Rage 2, which Yuzo Koshiro, if you've ever played Streets of Rage 2 on the Genesis, some of the best music you can get.
Absolutely.
Full stop. ActRaiser, I mean, he's just amazing. So the fact when I saw this, I jumped to have this music anyway, because I was one of those kids where I took my Genesis and the output and recorded tapes of the music of these things, right? But to be able to now have this in like vinyl to listen to anytime I want to, it's really cool. And the discs are different colors, we can take them out. Another one, this is brand new. This is Gunstar Heroes.
Now that's really cool.
Yeah, this is a Treasures game. And what they did for, again, we're talking about collector's mentality here, the artwork for each disc. This is 2 discs. This is beautiful, stunning artwork.
Are they
both
called
sides.
disc?
And the discs themselves.
Yeah, this was really, really neat.
Oh, it's a Pokeball.
Oh my god, you disrespected everything.
It's blue and red.
Blue and red.
I
Blue and red.
I love Gunstar Heroes. It's one of those games that I buy every fucking version
And
of.
you know, as I listen to this, and I don't know if it's due to it being a record or due to it being on my new speakers or whatever, but this music, I mean, I've grown up with the music of Gunstar Heroes. I've grown up with the music of Streets of Rage. I know how this goes, right?
Well, and I like that they know who's going after these. These are they made them very collectible because they've included on some of these, there are art books as well as, you know, containers for the records.
You saw the 2 tones. That was super limited. Like, they only did like 500 or 1,000 of those. And then the next print, they're like, it's like gun splatter. And then their next one is just black. It's just a record.
They know their target
Right.
market. You're right.
Right, and I didn't even realize they had done this for video games until I was looking at Friends Read-Only Memories. They're doing a vinyl release for that. But the first time I really was made
Who
aware...
did the music for that?
Too Mellow.
That's right. So if you're gonna get a record, buy 2 Mellows,
Buy 2
read-only
Mellows.
memories.
And that's really
He's
cool.
the guy that does the music for our intro.
And that's really cool that he has a record. He has a physical medium of his music.
yeah.
That's really cool.
But, like, I was walking through just I think it was FYE, and I was like, whoa, FYE still exists. But they... No, it's cool. But they had Paranorman soundtrack for the stop-motion animated film, and it glowed in the dark. And I was like, they still make records of these things? But it was really, really cool, you know, that they made a record. Not only on top of that, they had something that was slightly more collectible and something that was eye-catching.
Yep.
And they are priced as collectibles.
They are priced accordingly.
Even like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, the new pressing of, you know, all these 70s albums are like $40.
Yeah.
Oof.
That's the part I find ridiculous.
And it really depends on what it is. Like like the new Prince, there's a Purple Rain remaster that just came out, and it's also like $40. But older stuff like Fleetwood Mac, even if you get it new, it's still $13-14.
Well, does Disney release records?
Oh, what do you know?
You know, does Disney release records? I have 2 daughters. Soon to be more than that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And as you might guess, yes, they absolutely do release.
It's got 2 sides on it.
Yes, it does.
Oh,
2 sides.
look at
Yep.
there.
So soundtrack to Sleeping Beauty.
And now, see, that reminds me of my favorite record from when I was a kid, the story of Star Wars, that had Vader on one side and the droids on the other side, and that also is talking about our age group, memories that we have that others don't. Like, I can still hear it skipping.
That was my problem.
And talking about how Luke was already in the land speeder. Luke was already in the land speeder, but Luke was already in the land speeder.
Did you use the Fisher Price plastic
No, I
record
had
player?
a decent record player that
okay.
used to be my mom's. You know, it's like
See, for Christmas, I got Rainbow Bright record player, which was my favorite. And my parents decided that, like, my first record was going to be Motown's Greatest Hits. On this,
Good job on your parents.
I know, I don't know, but, like, you would have those little story time records that you would play on there and listen to them.
Turn the page. We hear the chimes ring like this. You talking about Star Wars, and this is how they get you, because we grew up with these things, right? There's a Star Wars record, a new record, where as it spins, it's a holographic, like, TIE fighter, right?
I've seen that.
And, like, I really want to buy this. See the faces you're making. I really want to buy this, but do I really, really want to spend, like, $40? You're right. I do.
You absolutely do.
If you're gonna collect this stuff,
balls out, baby. Balls out.
So yes, this is why us as geeks in near mint condition should, if you want to go into something else to collect, video game records, collector's editions of vinyl.
A very niche video game.
It's very specific little vinyl.
Yeah.
But
If
it's
you want
really
to
cool.
start with read-only memories. Support our buddy Too Mellow.
So that's some of my favorite records, some of my favorite geek vinyls. What did I miss? Do you have any cool records that you've picked up? Let us know in the comments below. Please like, subscribe, share. Keep on mixing and scratching. Thank you very much. I like the way you move.
We're gonna make people. This is what it sounds like when doves cry. Fucking Dwight Yoakam singing fucking Purple Rain. This is what Dan listens to when he's making love.